when I was a kid at the school, like drawing. And I always very interested about this flag. I don't know how and
Mm.
why. But
Yeah,
yeah, that was kind of a signal.
yeah. It's
And
it's a bit more detailed than the Italian flag.
yeah,
There's a
exactly,
few.
very
Yeah,
straight. And although the colors are very,
the colors are
very
quite similar.
quite similar as the red and the green, which will be eventually love and nature and passion. So, how about colors? But Portugal.
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 Our vegetables are like rock stars.
Literally, Portugal is a small Disneyland for grown-ups.
You know, I think that Portugal is like my geographic soulmate.
It's hard to explain what it is because it's a feeling.
And when I went there, I absolutely fell in love with Portugal.
I want you to feel the crunchiness.
Portugal, the Simple Life Podcast.
Portugal, the Simple Life Podcast.
And we're here on his podcast, Portugal Simple Life.
Portugal, the Simple Life Podcast, your insider's perspective into Portugal. And our latest episode starts right now. Welcome back, or welcome to another episode of Portugal, the Simple Life. And I'm really happy to be joined here by Jessica Fontana. Jessica, bon dia. Good morning. How are you today?
Bon dia. Feeling very excited to be hosting your podcast today. Feeling good, actually. Ending of January. So, starting a new year.
End of January, we've just experienced Storm Kristen. For anybody that's been watching the news, it's been a bit hectic, but we'll survive. Everything still works.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's part of the reality of climate change, and we need to really think about it. But yeah, it's a fact.
Exactly. Jessica, why don't you start off telling us a bit about you?
Sure. So my name is Jessica. I'm originally from Sicily, born and grown in a little village in Sicily, in the heart of Sicily, with like 4,000 inhabitants. And I moved to Portugal about almost 7 years ago. And I'm former meta manager, and I background in marketing and communication. I'm very passionate about people and leadership. And yeah, I'm super happy, and I find my true value in communities, and which is what I develop. And I like to give values to the voice of people and to elevate to their best potential. And I'm very passionate about nature and animals. We have a guest.
Yeah, this is my cat.
Exactly.
This is for anybody watching. This is Guga, and he obviously felt the need to be on the podcast. It's not very often that Dad's at home, so he's very happy.
He's very happy and very welcome to the podcast to our live listeners. And yeah, that's a little bit about me, traveling and passion. I do many sports as well, so I need a good place.
Wonderful.
to
Wonderful. So you mentioned your village in Italy, 4,000 people?
Yeah.
Wow, that's
very tiny. tiny. I have to say, it's like very close to and similar to Portugal somehow in some angles.
Yeah.
That's why I feel at home. Yeah, I will tell you.
Yes, I want to ask you about that because I think there will be a lot of similarities. How did you end up in Portugal? How did that all start for you?
Yeah, actually, it was for a job opportunity back in 2019. I was recently graduated, and I was like fresh, new eyes, and open to opportunities and for, any experience that the world would take me. And I started finding out some job opportunities around. And I was between the choice to decide between Portugal or Greece. And I was investigating, never been in both of the two countries, and I was researching and hearing voice and feedback from friends that have been in both countries, and I have that memory of Portugal for the flag. Actually, I remember I was probably
the flag.
Yes, like the first memory I have from the flag, like when I was a kid at the school, like drawing. I always very interested about this flag. I don't know how and why, but yeah, that was kind of a signal.
Yeah, it's a bit more detailed than the Italian flag. There's
yeah, exactly, very straight. And although the colors are very,
the colors are quite similar.
Quite similar as the red and the green, which will be eventually love and nature and passion. So, how about colors? But the fact was that a friend of mine recommended me so much Portugal, and his enthusiasm of, no, Portugal is actually a wonderful country. It's always sunny. People are very warming and welcoming, and
Yeah.
so I received this amazing feedback, and I was like, okay, let me research a little bit, and then 20 days after, I was literally landing in Portugal, like, and it was super
Amazing.
exciting. I was very positive welcome from the people. Like, I
Mm.
have a memory of like I was at the supermarket, like such an Italian and Sicilian. Like, first thing is like food and welcoming
Food.
at home, and so straightforward to the supermarket buying things, and I was like super excited with many things, and I arrived to pay, and I was in the line, and a lady, we started talking in Portuguese, English, Italian, Spanish, and at the time I didn't spoke any Portuguese at all,
Yes.
and
Yes.
we made each other understand, and she was so kind, and I was without car because I was just arrived, and she say, oh, let me help you to carry the shopping bags to your home, and I was like, are you serious? Like, literally she helped me like walking home with the bags, and I was like, wow, what a welcome.
Yeah. Yeah. So just to take a step back, you had never been to Portugal until coming that time for the job.
Exactly.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, it's always interesting to hear people's first experience, because you kind of have an idea. Today there's so much online information and things, and you kind of have an idea about Portugal, and then you get here and you feel it, and it's a completely different experience.
Yeah, it was actually I had high expectation, but about the country. But I think
Mm.
the first reaction, the first impression I had, it was people, how they
Yeah.
really are and kind.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tell me, because you came here for a job. I know now you're doing something different, and we'll talk about the work that you're doing because it's super interesting as well. What's kept you here? Because you seem like you could work anywhere, you could have gone anywhere. What's kept you in Portugal?
Yeah, I believe it's also the lifestyle
Mm.
because it's very well connected to the rest of the world and you can easily travel, but at the same time, you have such a safe country. You have amazing weather, like literally, I have 5 minutes walk to the river beach to anybody anywhere when I want to go. Like I have such a good quality of life.
Mhm.
So it's I really fall in love with the culture and the people, and like I travel a lot, but it's always a good place when you can really come back and feel at home. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. What were some of the similarities before? Because I've had some, as you know, I'm in real estate. I've had Italian clients over the years, and I'm always surprised by Italian people or clients that end up choosing Portugal. What are some of the similarities that you found between
Yeah.
the two cultures?
I believe specifically with the Sicilian culture because I found these similarities in the people culture, and so their love for the country, the food, the hospitality, the way how they like to receive, and like they are very warming. I've been into other countries like Ireland or UK and or Germany, and people are not to compare, but I
Mm.
felt very much more welcome and home, and like the proximity that people like, especially when you talk the language and then you connect with empathy with them, you have open doors to their
Mm.
home, like come and sit, you are part of the family, and that's how I grow up, and that's how I easily step in the Portuguese culture. And like I speak fluently Portuguese. I learn it from the streets. Like
Mm.
I
The
didn't
best
take any
way.
class. Exactly. And I realized people really appreciate when you do the effort to feel how do they feel, and
Yeah.
that's a fact.
For people listening who are interested in Portugal, but maybe potentially also interested in Italy, where would you say the countries where would you say the two countries are different, or the culture is different, if that's possible?
Yeah, I believe different maybe around more the kitchen, as Italy,
Okay.
recently Italy has been recognized as for prize for the best kitchen, so I believe Portuguese cuisine, it's very good, not as good and detailed and curated as the Italian one. So it's about food, and for sure Italy has the first place, let's say. But in terms of what is different, I believe it's more Portugal is simpler than Italy, I would say.
Okay.
It makes sense. Even
How? Yeah. How do you think it's simpler?
in terms of structure of even the arts and the architecture, I find Italy, it's each city of Italy, it's more peculiar. Like you can see the difference because there's been more domination in other countries. I mean, culturally, I find it more different than Portugal.
Okay.
More on the artistic side and the architect. Yeah.
Architecture. But yeah, in terms of that love for food and sitting around the table and wine, there's a lot of similarities.
For sure.
Yeah. We had an interesting experience in Rome last year. My wife and I went to Rome to watch Italy play against Wales in the rugby. I'm originally from South Africa, so rugby is a big thing for us. And we were in a restaurant in Rome. It wasn't in the typical touristic area. It was in like a residential part of Rome, and it was a typical pasta restaurant. The pasta was amazing. But I asked the gentleman, because I don't know much about Italian wines, and I was trying to ask him to recommend a good wine that we could drink, and tried to understand the different regions and the grapes, and he said, where are you from? We said we're from Portugal, and he goes, it's difficult. It's going to be difficult for me to recommend a better wine than our wines. But it's interesting because Portugal's got the second most grape varieties in the world. The first most grape varieties in the world is Italy. So is Portuguese wine better than Italian wine?
I like both, let's say.
That's a good answer. That's a good diplomatic answer.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, each one is actually my father is also wine and olive oil producer, so I'm.
Oh wow! Okay. Has he been to visit you here?
Sorry?
Has he been to visit you?
Yes,
in Portugal.
Course. Yes, of course.
Did he like the wines?
Yes, they pretty like, and every time I go, I bring always some wine to them. So they like it particularly. The Alentejo one, which is my favorite.
Very good. Tell us about the work that you're doing with the woman. It's Women's Leaders Circle, I believe.
Exactly. Yes.
Tell us a bit about that. How it happened, because you were in some other quite big corporate positions, and you've transitioned, right?
Yes, exactly. I used to work for Meta for the past 5 years, and I was already managing big teams in the marketing area. And I felt the shift in when I was. It was actually during COVID that it was us starting feeling a little bit the impact that people can really have and how the world is changing, and feeling the big impact in smaller teams. You would make more impact and see the real value that we are, and the effort and which is our role as a leader, as a team leaders in the corporate world and also in other communities. And the shift, it happened when actually I was sharing a little bit of my story to other communities, and I felt that they were pretty impacted, and it was behind marketing, behind numbers, behind KPIs, behind numbers, and so I realized that in Portugal, but also in Italy and globally, there is so much inequality around gender and position for gap. And so I find my value more elevated in community, especially for women. And the story has a voice and a power and can really inspire and really lead the change that we want to see in the world. And it started like this. It was like a little project. Let's say, okay, let's bring together some other minds and let's brainstorm on how we can make community more inclusive and diverse. And that's how it was born. Actually, it's going to be 3 years ago. And back then, I took some decision. I stepped back and I say, okay, I wanted to dedicate my full time to the project, which at the beginning was just a project. Now it's such a strong community, which is impacting leaders and entrepreneurs globally. And I decided, okay, I wanna quit my job and dedicate my full time to the project. And it happened then. On my last day of job, I received a notification from Nova University that we were accepted to do an incubation journey with them.
Oh, wow.
And it was last year. It was quite accelerating journey. We create an academy for leaders and entrepreneurs. We brought together plus a board of 60 international mentors, which they are CEOs, entrepreneurs.
60?
60,
60.
yes.
Wow, that's a lot of people.
60 mentors, both women and men's, because it's about equality and not another group for women and by women. You know, I truly believe on the power and the balance of this in society.
Yeah,
And so
and Andrew Bryant, who was on the podcast, he's one of the mentors. If I'm
exactly,
yeah.
he's one of our mentor, and he's been as well speaking about self-leadership in our academy, actually. And so we believe in the power of leadership that is systemic, and we can have an impact and be our better version through the power of community and supportive of the collectivity. So we did 2 editions of the academy. We brought people actually also from South Africa, from Mozambique, from Italy, from France, US as well. So it's a journey that brings together around communication, public speaking as well, personal branding, and most of all self-leadership. So I'm very passionate about it. And it's been a wonderful journey. Last year, especially, we were also at Web Summit as community partner with amazing masterclass with a lot of speakers. And it's not about the place, but it's about the impact that we drove. So it's been incredible. And now we are moving farther. It's officially an association, so we are restructuring also in terms of impact, and now we can support other communities more for no profit, and have other people that can really join venture with our mission.
Incredible. Between my job as a realtor at Portugal Realty and hosting this podcast, life is pretty busy. But lately I've been receiving so many messages from people that want to know more about buying property here on Portugal's Silver Coast that I've got to do something about it. So starting now, for subscribers only, I'm offering up a 30-minute session per day. That's 5 30-minute sessions for a one-on-one meeting to talk about buying property here on Portugal's beautiful Silver Coast. This is for subscribers only. So please subscribe to book your session and get in touch with us through the links below via WhatsApp or email to book your session today. I'll be happy to speak to you. It's for subscribers only, and it's completely free. Incredible. I mean, we've seen, you mentioned Web Summits. I know also you're involved with TEDx, with Anel, with TEDx Marvilla. We're seeing all of these communities popping up all over Portugal, not just Lisbon, but all over the country. Really, I mean, for me, I came here 16 years ago. So I came in 2009, and the amount of international communities and people doing really interesting things the amount has just grown so much, which is just so exciting. Why here? What do you think? How do you think doing it here in Portugal has helped you with your mission?
Yeah, actually, my initial mission, it was to create a project in Africa and for Africa. And I find out that this positioning helped me so much because Portugal is also very related to African country. We have they call it PALOP, which are the Portuguese speaker country, and I'm very linked to Mozambique and Angola as well, and
Yeah.
other countries. But what has really helped me is because Portugal is from times, and we have the Belém, that is the city of discovery, when it's going to be a port for connection with continents. And I found out that besides, it's getting very international. It's so easy to be very connected with different places, and the quality of interaction. People, like, we organize, for example, at the end of the journey of the academy, we organize always an in-person meeting. And last year we did two. One, it was in a Portuguese hand-painted boat, and people came from Italy, came from France, came from Brussels, from US. So it's like the meeting point that can really unify different continents and put together. And the language also helps a lot, because I find that in Portugal, many people speaks pretty well English compared to eventually Italy. They don't speak, I mean, they don't speak
big
in all the
difference.
side, So it's also very open to international community, and it's been, and the mindset is also helping a lot, because it's
Yeah, it's amazing because I don't know if you've ever read the book. I've mentioned it quite a few times on the podcast. It's called The First Global Village. And it talks about, when you're talking about global villages, you talk about places like Dubai, New York, London, where people come from all over the world. And Portugal was one of the first historically, where you had, like you talk about blame, but it was all over the country. I've been to a site in the Alentejo, which is like the Stonehenge of Portugal, which is these big stones. And it was actually a meeting point, and it was where people used to trade and barter, but from everywhere. And at any given moment, there were communities all over the country that were from all over the world. And now it's almost like we've come full circle, and Portugal is back at this like kind of central meeting point. And I think it's super interesting because you talk about the language, that's definitely one, but there seems to be an openness here for networking, and being here for such a long time. I've found that the people that end up coming here regularly, whether they live here or whether they come back and forth, it's almost like they take on the Portuguese mentality of let's talk, let's connect, let's take the time to get to know each other. Have you had that similar experience?
Yes, completely. Like, every time I feel like, since the revolution, let's say, of working from home, like, I mostly work from everywhere and at home. But what I find most impactful is like when, okay, vamos beber um cafezinho, and we get together in a coffee and we connect, and always in person is always different, So I find that the connection, that the energy of people, it's completely another one when it's in person, and you find the moment of, that's why also the similarity with Italy is like, take it slowly.
The relationship with time is the same.
Yeah, exactly. It's slow living.
Yeah, because I was speaking to one of my colleagues about this, and everything. If you go onto any kind of app or website, everything is AI driven now. Everything is automated responses, which can be very convenient. But I feel like we're at a place in the world now where people just really want to connect on a real level. Really want the human side of things, really want to be able to feel like they're heard, like they're understood. And I feel like you have this beautiful balance in Portugal where you've got the possibilities, you've got good infrastructure, you've got amazing internet, you've got all those things at work, but there's still that thing, like you said, like, let's stop for a coffee, And I remember first coming to Portugal, and I remember once having, that I'm near to Óbidos on the Silver Coast, and I went up went down to Lisbon for some meetings, and every single meeting was a coffee. No, we won't sit down here in the office. Come, let's go down. Let's go downstairs and go to the cafe. And I must have had like 8 coffees in one day. I was wired. It was just like, and
Yeah, it can
but this
happen.
but this concept of let's stop, let's connect. As you know, like. With being in real estate, I've accompanied many clients to a title deed, and it's this official event where you sit in a notary and it's all of this documentation and all of these rules and things. But the person that's running the meeting or the lawyers, they're all chatting about food and they're chatting about family and they're asking the clients, where do you live? And there's this human side to things. And I think that's so important in the world that we're living in today.
Yes. Completely, I agree 100% because they give more value to the person that's behind. It's not just about business because I believe you can trust better someone if you know it from the authentic story, from the way how it make you feel as well. And so giving some time to just connect as life, because otherwise what else we behind titles, behind business, behind things, there's many stories, and especially in little villages there's things that is gonna be lost soon. So it's very important to take some time to get to know each other behind the screens, of course, literally.
Yeah, in person. Let's just talk about the Portuguese people because, and you have mentioned them already, but I think we have to always talk about the Portuguese people because it's the people that make a place. And again, when you look at and we talk about all these communities and startups and your TEDx's and your tech startups and your web summits, and this is tons of people coming from all over the world, and this wouldn't be possible without the generosity of the Portuguese people. And I'm also seeing that it's not just these kind of expat hubs that are popping up. No, there's an integration. And in every group, in every community, there's a nice balance of Portuguese and internationals. What has your experience been with the people in from a personal perspective, but also with the work that you're doing?
Yeah, actually, where I find the most, it was back in the time with Impact Hub Lisbon, which is international, but also 100% very well integrated in the Portuguese field, and they work literally with the territory. And the integration, I believe what it's working here in Portugal is this integration with policy, with activities that can elevate the values of the lands of the country that is hosting us, and then integrating with international activities. And for example, Web Summit is one of those, like hosting, and they switch completely the paradigm of, instead of doing things around a big venue, like let's do the post events in the locals, bars and activities. So also the people are living here and they're benefiting from all the tourism. They can also have connection, and people can come for a tech event, for a tech fair, but also they can know a little bit, and they come for the party, they come for the people, they come from the food, for the story. So I believe it's pretty well integrated between story, territory, people, and culture. So that's I think the winning point that has been so far.
Amazing. You've been to. You also spent some time up here on the Silver Coast. You were living near to Abydos. Your husband was doing a project there. What did you enjoy about the Silver Coast, about this area just north of Lisbon?
It was stunning. The view in there, like I pretty enjoy the lagoon. It's called Praia do Bom Sucesso, which I love. The name is actually what I find very interesting in Portugal. They have quite nice names. This one, it's Beach of Great Success. It's like, whoa.
Yes.
Beside the great name, it's stunning, the connection with nature, because I believe it changed a lot from whenever you were a little bit on the west side and to Lisbon. It completely, it's another word. Still 1 hour from Lisbon, because people are very much more connected, more calm, and life is even slower, and you can really enjoy and taste the little moments and connect to nature. I particularly enjoy because I was working in the nature. I was with my computer in the forest. My background was pine trees and things, and people were asking, "Is it a virtual background?" No, it's not. Literally, I was working. It was so helpful for me to focus and to also practice some sports, and at the same time enjoying and be very well connected with myself.
Yeah,
That's the part that I enjoy the most.
Yeah, and again, it's a small country, but the diversity, just getting out of the cities and what you see, you mentioned those. That you're from a small village of 4,000 people. And here in Portugal, you can very much come across a little town somewhere in the middle of nowhere where it's got this lovely community and a little church and the little tashka and cafe and restaurant where life carries on. And like we talk about the simple life, that's it, where people are just happy to be there. It's so diverse and special from that point of view.
Yeah, and I find much similarities with that, because like even if you don't know people, you do a walk and you say "Bom dia," and it's like that connection, that warmth. It's so simple, but in big city, even in Lisbon, not everywhere you go like you say hello to people.
Yeah.
Maybe look, you smile, but there's in the specific, especially in these villages, you are very much more connected to people that lives there. Naturally.
Yeah, I mean, Lisbon's changed a lot. I remember Lisbon 15 years ago, and if you walked into a cafe, everybody said "Bon dia," and it was common. That's changed a bit, but these places here on the Silver Coast, if I walk into a cafe and I don't say good morning, people look at me like, what's wrong? Like, why hasn't he said good morning? You've got to say good morning. I remember a little bit north from where you are, you have São Martinho do Porto, that bay. And not long ago, my wife and I, we were taking a walk along the boardwalk, and everyone's bon dia, bon dia, bon dia, bon dia. Even the foreign people just get into it. They take on that kind of that spirit of just being connected and happy and happy to see each other. It's nice.
And I believe it also influences a little bit how people feel here. I don't know if Portugal is yet in any happiest country score, but I quite feel very happy here. And the environment, it helps a lot.
Yeah. I mean, just stay on that theme here, because you are a very busy woman, family as well. How does Portugal help you rest and recover and recharge? How does it help you as just the mom, the woman, the everyday life to life? How does it help you recover and restore and rest?
Yeah, actually, we bought a home here in Alcochete. It's literally 5 minutes from the river. That's a river beach, and the way how I ground myself and reconnect and recharge is like literally I do my 5 kilometers walk. I try every day, but in winter, especially this time, it's challenging. But connection with the nature and the quality of life and connection, there are many sports that you can practice here, like literally. There's a way of, recharge and have connection around, and it's something that I definitely love. And people have this as a lifestyle. So even I believe, and what I do professionally is like we are what we think, and we are and what we do as well. And the environment is super helpful on what we are doing, because if there's somebody else that you see that at 7 a.m. they're running, or they're taking a walk outside, or they're doing something, you are also very much influenced by the other people that are practicing a lifestyle that is healthier. And so that is contribute to the level of happiness or well-being generally. So this has been very important to me. Yeah.
Yeah, you've already said, and we've got it on record. It's recorded that Italian food is better than Portuguese food. So I can't control what the comments are going to say after this. Okay, but tell us about some of your favorite Portuguese dishes that you've
Well,
that
I
you?
said Italian food is better, but I love Portuguese food, and for
Yes.
sure, I mean, codfish, there are, I don't know, 100 received, but for sure, one is bacalhau alagareiro, which is a recipe with potatoes and vegetables. It's very well
I'm sure your
prepared.
dad must have liked that one because they use a lot
Oh,
of
yes.
olive oil.
Yes, a lot. It's not
Yeah.
super light, but yeah, whenever
No.
it is, and there's plenty. The Portuguese kitchen is also very rich, and octopus, I mean, fish, everything that's around fish is also very well. They're not, what is make me fun every time that they say, the first dish, the second dish, that they use pasta as a side dish, which for me I always fight with. It's not, it's the main dish, and then they use it as a side dish, and I'm like, all right, I'll get used to. But I love Portuguese kitchen as well.
Yeah, it's good. Jessica, what is one thing that you would like people to remember and to take away from our conversation?
That Portugal is the place to be. Actually, if you don't try, come and visit. You won't regret for sure.
Yeah, yeah, it comes back to what we were talking about, where you can read on a brochure, you can watch videos on YouTube, but when you're here, you'll feel it, and it's yeah. You mentioned the passion in the colors, you know,
Yes.
love and nature. It's a good analogy for our flag, the green and the red, because that's
Yeah.
what you'll experience.
Yeah, for sure. And something else that is very important to say, like they have the best sunset ever. I
Yeah,
mean, I have records of so many picture and videos and memories instead of, very beautiful sunsets. Like there's the
yeah,
country with the most, I mean, there in 365 days a year, at least we have 320 days of sun beside
yeah,
winter. We are recording this in winter, but definitely it's worthy for the weather and for beautiful sunset there. Makes the city
yeah.
even more magic.
Especially where you were at, on the lagoon, Abydos Lagoon, and that west coast, the sunsets are. But yeah, it's true, amazing
Yeah.
sunsets. How can people follow you, Jessica? How can people see what you're up to? Follow you online, get in touch.
Sure. On LinkedIn, you can find through my name, Jessica Fontana, or on Instagram as well. I have a page for Women Leaders Circle, which is like this, and on my personal as well, _JessieF __. But
Perfect.
I talk about leadership, communities, and how to build sustainable life as well. So it's a mix, and happy to collaborate to other projects and support other entrepreneurs and leaders there in Portugal. And when do you want to come to Portugal? Because once you arrive, you you won't come back. I came here for a job opportunity, and so far, and you too, you pass some time and definitely fall in love. So yeah.
Wonderful. I'll put some links in the show notes so people can follow you. Jessica, one more question, and a question that we ask all of our guests. Portugal, the simple life. Why?
Because there's a place that you can find yourself in the simple way and keep staying in love with it.
I like that. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure speaking to you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
And I'm going to let you call. Yeah, I'm going to let you call it. Sorry, I interrupted you. I'm going to let you call it.
And that's a wrap. Thank you so much.
So thank you once again to our guest, and thank you to all of you for listening. Please subscribe, share with your friends, give us a thumbs up, and please leave a comment or a review. We always love to hear from you. Don't forget, Portugal The Simple Life also has a magazine, so download it. It's for free. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode, and as we say in Portugal, sejas bem-vindo. Welcome to The Simple Life.